Hello, hello, and welcome to a new book review video. Something that I've been working on a while because it's been a while to read the book. My name is Brandon Wheeler. Whenever I got strong in my mouse because like heat stroke or something happened to me in the army. Can't talk to somebody now. Something right. Okay, moving on. All right. I've read The Hobbit for the first time. I say first time because I think I read like an abridged version or something as a kid. Don't really recall. So finally got to get about reading it. I requested it for Christmas because I wanted to read the book since I wrote a fantasy book and started on my whole writing thing, not just fantasy, but everything else, trying to get back into writing and everything. And I figured, like, you know what, I should start getting into stuff, read this stuff that, does help inspire everything. I've already read at least the first Chronicles of Narnia. I need to read the rest, but I've never read the Lord of the Rings stuff. I've seen the movies. Movies are important to me and everything. Let me pro that. I've seen the Lord of the Rings, and I haven't seen the first Hobbit movie. I know what happens in the other Hobbit movies, but after reading the book, I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. Of course, I know Warner Brothers completely screwed up. I'm not going to blame Peter Jackson. Anyway, moving on from all that debacle. So, just sticking with the book. So, I remember as a kid watching the cartoon, because we watched the cartoon or whatever. There was a cartoon Hobbit movie, if you haven't seen that. I remember watching that, and so I had that kind of memory going into this. And it's, again, you got this as part of a 4-book set for Christmas and everything. So after this be Fellowship of the Ring. But I was just kind of like, okay, let's delve into it. First thing I want to say is a lot of songs. A lot of songs. I know of course, I saw the first Hobbit movie, the famous thing, Misty Mountains. Da, da, da. That has far more lyrics than what they just did in the movie. It's got, like, literally, this is where it's 2 pages. It's like 2 pages just of lyrics and to that song alone. And there's so many other songs. There's songs when they visit Rivendell. There's more songs the dwarves sing. There's stuff that, well, the goblins kind of sing. That was kind of in the movie, I remember, and everything. So, but there's a lot of songs and stuff. I guess, what is that called? Prose? I'm not exactly familiar with that type style and stuff. But uh, interesting to read all the different song stuff. I was like, well, that's interesting because I want to include song stuff in my writings and everything that I want to do. So it's just kind of like, oh, I'm on a right track. I'm not going to get to that level, but it's on the right track. Even Bilbo sings a song. Yeah, he does. If you don't know what The Hobbit is about, I'm sure you know. It's one of the most famous books out there. The Hobbit is the story of a little guy, Bilbo Baggins, a hobbit, in his whole hobbit home, house, being dragged along by Gandalf, a wizard, to help a bunch of dwarves reclaim their treasure from their old home from an old dragon that stole it and everything like that. And he's dragged along to be a burglar. So it's kind of like, what's he for? What's he being dragged along for? Who's Gandalf? You know who all these people are. You've seen Lord of the Rings movies. I think pretty much everyone who hasn't seen it has seen it. But yeah, this. I mean, I could just read the back, but yeah, you know what happens with it and everything. It's one of those famous stories. Originally, this was more of a kid's story, and reading through it, I can kind of see kind of more influence. I don't know how the Lord of the Rings books are yet. I'll find that out. But as far as, I do want to talk about a type of writing style, I guess, kind of Tolkien was doing in this, was the narration. On one hand, he's referring mostly everything like, Bilbo's doing this, Bilbo's doing that, and everything. But then it takes a somewhat, almost like first-person view of the narrator saying, like, making interjections like, well, Bilbo did this and stuff, and I suppose all these other things would have happened if I didn't know it. It's kind of interesting to see the narrator taking that as like, okay, well then, who's the narrator? I know people speculate that it's Bilbo, and I guess it is Bilbo, but just completely from a narration point of view, it's like, okay, why is it going from that and then make some sort of interjections of like someone else, like a third party, speaking of stuff? There's like, what is going on here? Now, I know at least in the first movie this was not talked about. They don't have Radagast here in the book. There's a character named Bjorn, which I don't know if he's in the other movies or anything. I know there's other things in the movies that are not there, but there's a character named Bjorn. He kind of can turn into a bear and everything, and he's like super strong. And there's more things with the eagles and a couple other different adventures and stuff. It's just kind of like, I don't remember Bjorn being mentioned even in the original cartoon movie. That maybe they cut that out or whatever, perhaps. I don't know. But it's kind of interesting. It's like, I don't remember any story about that. It's kind of like one of those stories of like, oh yeah, Tom Bombadil, 9 hour, no, with the extended versions over 10-hour movies and not one mention of Tom Bombadil. Or there's not anything of Glorfindel or any of those other elves and stuff, is there either? But there's one interesting spot that I don't think anyone's ever talked about that I need to bring up in the book. It's on, at least in this, it's on page 57. They're like near a valley or so, and these like stone giants were like hurling rocks at one another from across the valley for a game. And here's what Thorin says. This won't do at all. If we get blown off or drowned or struck by lightning, we shall be picked up by some giant and kicked sky high for a football. Soccer is canonical to Middle Earth. I can't complain. You know what football is? It's football is soccer to us Americans, but it's canonical to Middle Earth. So that got my mind thinking like, there's soccer in Middle Earth? The dwarves recognize what soccer is? Wait, do they have leagues? Do they have soccer leagues or something? It's just like, well, I can't say anything. Soccer is canonical to Middle Earth. No one can complain against that. I wonder, does that mean cricket is technically canonical to Middle Earth? Do they have sport leagues? What do the hobbits even do? What do the hobbits, just in general, what do the hobbits even freaking do for work? They eat all day. It's like, how do you guys even afford this? What do you even do for work? But it got me thinking. I drew this because I've been trying to learn to draw, and I hadn't done anything in a long while. I'm sorry. I drew this a long time ago, and it's not finished. But I wanted to make this thing, so this is a pencil sketch. I'm eventually one day I'd like to get the a draw system to put stuff on. But I made a thing of Gandalf overseeing a Hobbit soccer game. I mean, it's just the idea of like, why not? So, but I mean, you can't say it's wrong because it's canonical to Middle Earth. There is soccer, football in Middle Earth. So I just was like, when Aragorn came to the throne, did he establish soccer leagues for, health and welfare for the kids and stuff? It's a funny thought. I know I shouldn't be going off with it, but I'm just thinking like of the movies, and then I'm thinking of the story. I'm just like, I don't think anyone's ever addressed this at all. Has anyone ever talked about soccer being in Middle Earth before? Because that's interesting. So, but as far as the just language and writing and stuff, again with the music and all that. Oh yeah, tons of riddles between Bilbo and Shmi Gollum. I have to think of Gollum's voice that Andy Serkis provided. I mean, that's just the voice I can think of for it. But seeing all these different things of what happened and stuff, and the language, getting through the whole writing, getting through how it all comes through in first person, second view, or all that. And inspiring. Very inspiring, and I do, in fact, after officially writing it for the first time, it is, in fact, a great book. I see why so many people are inspired by it, and partly, yeah, I was still pulled more from the Lord of the Rings movies, not the Hobbit movies, but Lord of the Rings movies for inspiration for my writings and stuff going forward. As far as how, like, just this page, where was it? Well, that's the riddles and stuff, or kind of stuff, but yeah, just even. Well, let me go to the Misty Mountain songs. Let me do that for you. Because that... Gosh. Ah. There we go. I mean, look at this. It's like 2 pages of songs. I know people only do the first part. I'd like to hear someone actually record, like in that style, the full thing of all that. I was gonna read some of it, but I'll let you do it. Just the language and everything, how stuff is just like described and put together, and everything's like worded differently. Definitely a mastery of language and stuff that I need to be better in my simplicity, just to kind of capture some stuff. I don't want to lose my style because I know you can't try to copy Tolkien because you lose out on who you are, and Tolkien wouldn't want that for you. But it's just kind of like, if nothing else, trying to get better on the music stuff, because I feel like music, especially I guess you can say for a fantasy setting, medieval, is really important, because I pull from the Psalms and Scripture, like when you want to go to something, is like for encouragement or when you're downcast and stuff. Psalms are really they're not just happy Psalms. There's some terrible Psalms where just bitterness crying out when you get into them. To try to pull from that idea and from music and everything, because I don't know, for some reason I feel like that's really important on this aspect. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff I can talk about, but have you read the book? Have you not read the book? If not, you should read it, especially if you want to. I will say it. If you want to write books, I mean, there's things I can offer you, like there's Dune, there's, Anne of Green Gables, there's Jurassic Park here. I got several different books. There's certain books you probably should read for if you want to probably be a writer. I know there's probably tons of other books out there and everything like that. And I always have my favorites and stuff, but probably after reading this, really now, for the first time, I will say this is definitely a book. If you want to read, if you want to become a writer, especially with fantasy, you want to start off with Hobbit. Because this, it's just definitely different. Whatever everything was in my expectations going into it, I'm like, wow, this is definitely different than what I thought. And I appreciate it far more than what it was. So now on to the next 3 books. That's going to take a while. Alrighty, well, we'll see you in the next one when I get done with my other book I'm reading and those. See you in the next one. Goodbye.